From the WAQP studios in Saginaw, Michigan, it's Michigan Alive, proclaiming the gospel to the Great Lakes Bay region and mid-Michigan area, giving glory to the Lord in word and in song on Michigan Alive.
Praise God. We're so glad that you tuned in today. You will not be sorry. Now, if you're a surfer like some people I know personally, of course, present company is excluded, you're wanting to put that button right now. Drop it. Let go, step away from the remote. You don't want to miss. This will be one of the most impactful hours that you've spent all day and possibly all week. We've got a wonderful opportunity to talk about the power of God, the promises of God, the prophetic utterance of God, and the penetrating ability of God to get into a circumstance and completely alter it. You don't want to miss this. I know that you're probably sitting there right now facing some situations and some circumstances that are just so huge and so wide, you actually need a bridge to get over this thing. And we're talking about bridges in a very special way here today. Got a very special guest with us today, and she's written a very powerful book. It's called The Bridge Between Cell Block A and a Miracle is Psalms 91. Let's welcome Jackie Carpenter to the show today. Hi, Jackie.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing? We're so glad to have you here. Now, you got to tell me, what is this bridge between Cell Block A and a Miracle is Psalms 91? What does that mean?
That, you know, God gave me that before He gave me the book. And what He showed me, it's a defining point between the lowest point in my life and the highest point in my life and what connected the two. And during this ordeal, Psalm 91 was my life support because literally, mentally, physically, emotionally, I was dying because of what my son was going through. My son was incarcerated for 9 days, falsely accused of murder. And that was the lowest point of my life.
Falsely accused of murder. Mm-hmm. This happened. Now, your son is Jason.
My son is Jason.
Pronounce that last name for me again.
Veach.
Veach.
Mm-hmm.
He's been accused of murder.
Right.
And now give me some background. How do you get accused of murder and you didn't do it?
Falsely accused.
Falsely accused.
Yeah. It was 6 months. He was called to preach in December of 2007. And 6 months after that, he's a builder. And he was a victim of copper theft. And copper theft had really become a big thing in our town with all the builders. They were all suffering from it, not just my son. But my son had a lot of construction going on, so I guess he was suffering more than some. But each time that he was robbed of copper, it was costing him like approximately $6,000. At 12:45 in the morning, he saw a white van go by, and he became probably awake and alert. He was probably half asleep, and he saw this, and it was a dead-end road, and he thought, uh-oh. So he sat up, and they went down, and they turned around and came back, but they went by. So he thought, oh, thank goodness. But he saw the brake lights, and he thought, oh, God, don't let them be coming back. And no sooner than he got up to full attention, they did come back, and he was sitting in the woods, and they did come back, and they turned right into the driveway, and they pulled right around so their headlights was right on him in the woods. And so Jason, after he called the operator, he called his father-in-law, who lives 10 minutes away. And he said, Billy knew he was there too. And he said, Billy, they're back. He was whispering. He thought he didn't want him to hear him. And Billy said, Jason, do you want me to come over there? And Jason said, yes. He thought the police would get there first, but his father-in-law did. And his father-in-law pulled up behind him, and he don't have guns. And he got out of his truck, and he walked up to the van, and Jason couldn't just sit in the woods and watch his father-in-law in the line of fire. So, because Jason had no clue who was in the van, 1, 10, he didn't know. So he came out of the woods, and he fired a warning shot. It was a double-barrel shotgun. And he fired a warning shot so they wouldn't hurt Billy. And he came around, and Billy was on one side of the van, and Jason was on the other, and they ordered him out.
So the guy got shot where?
He did. Up in the top of his shoulder, And at that point, Jason panicked, and he went running around Billy, just hysterical, saying, "What do I do? What do I do? I didn't mean for that to happen. What do I do?" Billy said, "Jason, calm down. You just tell the truth. Just tell the truth." They tried every way they could to save him. I mean, you could hear it. You could hear it on the 911 tapes. Billy met the ambulance on the way to the hospital and tried to stop them, and they wouldn't stop. I guess they couldn't. They didn't know it was Billy. You know, they had to keep going. But he died. He died in Billy's truck, but Billy thought he was alive. But at 2 o'clock, the phone rang, and it was my daughter-in-law, Stephanie, screaming, hysterical, telling me that, Miss Jackie, the guy died, and they have arrested Jason for murder, and they may arrest my daddy also. And that was just a defining moment in my life I have never experienced, because we've never been through anything that remotely resembles this. And we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to handle anything. And the whole book, I guess, is our learning experience and how to handle something like this.
Now, you guys are believers.
Yes.
You're loving God.
Yeah.
You're going to church. You're model citizens, you know, and something like this happens, and you wake up one day and your whole life is something else. The deputy said this.
And that's what they were there for. They were on the news the following morning with their interview and their side of the story. And that side of the story was Jason had executed their cousin right there at that site. And they have my son now incarcerated with other murderers. And when I did get to see him and they brought him in, he didn't look like my son. He was in these red and white stripes, and we could only see him through a glass, and we had to almost scream at him because there was like a speaker between us, and there were other people visiting too with their loved ones. No. And you just want to touch them, and you can't. And the tears, you know, just coming down his face, and him just, "Mama, I didn't mean to do this. Mama." It just, I bottomed out as a mother. And I'm like, I'm so helpless as a mother.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do to help my son. I can't reach him. I can't touch him. I can't get him out. I can't take him home. I'm helpless. And, you know, but I know now that was just God bringing me on down to where I realized how much I need him.
So would you just take a moment?
June 26, 2008, life was so good. No problems of any kind. No children out of control, financially, no problems. Life was so good. And then in a matter of 12 to 15 minutes, our life changed, and it changed forever. And for 10 months, we lived in the torments of hell, not knowing what was going to happen. And I hit rock bottom, and I knew I was a Christian. And I knew that God would bring me through this. But my faith wasn't strong enough in God to bring me through it. And so for 10 months, God built my faith. And that's where the Psalms came in. Once I moved life into Psalms and started living Psalms, He kept strengthening me. And He got my strength so strong and my faith so strong that it didn't matter what man said. God reminded me that He was much more powerful than man, and that whatever man could do, He could do so much more. And that is so true. God at one point reminded me, "Jackie, I created the whole world in 6 days. On the 7th, I had nothing to do, so I rested. Do you think this thing is so out of control that I can't straighten it out?" And I just had to put my face down to the pavement of our driveway and cry and beg God to forgive me for letting my faith just slip for a second, because I knew better. I knew I shouldn't doubt. And that's where it is. It's getting to the point where you can rise above doubt. Trust and doubt do not go together. And as long as I doubted, that's all Satan wanted. But as long as I trusted, that's what God wanted. And it's a matter of getting to a point where you can trust without doubt. And the only way I was able to do that was to move my life 100% into Psalms and live it.